Welcome to Center Stage. My name is Mark Gordon. Harry Shearer is an Emmy-winning actor, writer, musician, and political satirist. He is best known for his work on The Simpsons, Saturday Night Live, and films such as This Is Spinal Tap. In 2002, he joined me in studio to talk about making the film Teddy Bear's Picnic. Stay tuned as we go center stage with Harry Shearer, the man of 1,000 voices.
Center stage, center stage, center, center, center stage. Center stage.
Did you really do Abbott and Costello Go to Mars?
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Thank you. Well, I mean, it's only in retrospect. It was pretty ordinary at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, those are great.
It was an interesting. I'm a little prouder of my first movie. That wasn't my first movie. My first movie was The Robe.
That's right. Yeah, that was.
I was the first CinemaScope child.
And whatever. I remember that actor, who played the Caesar. And he would always get so. I think he's on. He's on a cable show now where.
Well, everybody's on a cable.
Believe it or not, he talks. Believe it or not.
Oh, is he in the Ripley's Believe It or Not?
Yeah, the Ripley's guy, or like Strange Phenomena, something like that.
Wow, everybody's on
But
cable.
no, and Victor Mature, right?
Well, Victor Mature is dead, isn't he?
No, but I mean, he was in The Robe.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
No, that was a great movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what did you do on that?
I was a crippled boy. I was a crippled boy who a child was given a donkey by Richard Burton, and the child gave me the donkey, and I was kind of miraculously cured of my crippling ailment as a result of the gift, the great gift.
That's awesome.
I don't mean to demean the story there, but that's what happened. Basically, I hung around I was 8 years old. I got to hang around the Fox lot for about 2 weeks, and had first time I ate duck at the Fox commissary. It was like, that's what I remember about The Robe was, hey, duck is good.
Look, I want to do another film. So
I can eat more duck.
I want more duck.
Yes. Let me put it this way. I've never had more fun on the Fox lot since.
When you got the gig on The Simpsons,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that started with the Tracy Ullman show, right?
The family started on the Tracy Ullman show. I didn't join until it became a series on its own.
It's so funny when you look back at the old Simpsons.
They look like they were done in the 20s, don't they?
They're all sketchy, the heads are all weird.
And the voices are totally different, and yet it's the same people, but it looks like it comes from the 1920s. It's amazing.
So how does the voice change? It's just they get more seasoned, or they change the way they record it, or?
No, the recording didn't affect it too much. No, I think it's just all of us, because I know I listened to old Simpsons and I was doing Mr. Burns differently. I think because we don't sit and listen to the shows week to week as we continue to do them, the voices kind of evolve a little bit, and we kind of move in a direction that feels funnier and or more comfortable, one or the other. I think Dan, for example, Dan Castellaneta, who does Homer, was originally basing it on something else. And so the early Homer, you can hear where it was coming from. Now, Homer is indefinably and unutterably Homer. He's just nothing but Homer. So the influences have been kind of drained away, and now Homer is nothing but Homer. And same with like Mr. Burns. Mr. Burns, I mean, I didn't have kind of the direct references that Dan did. He was doing Eddie Mayhoff and a couple of other old comedians. Burns was just a voice that came into my head, but the more I did him, the more I kind of figured out who he was, and so that's been the process.
How long do you think it'll run, Simpsons?
I don't know. What controls that now is whether Fox gets another real hit, because the value of to be absolutely brutally honest about it, the value to Fox of The Simpsons now is not it's a great show and people love it. The value of it to Fox is, if we have The Simpsons on at 8, we can put some new show on at 8:30
Right.
and have a prayer that people will come try it. I mean, look at this season, The Chamber. I don't know if you saw The Chamber.
No.
You heard about The Chamber.
Oh wait, I did see it.
Yeah.
That
was The Chamber. Yeah. So
and Fox. I mean, they take chances, but when they had the people eating, that was TV has hit an all-time.
Oh,
low.
the Glutton Bowl.
Yeah, the Glutton Bowl.
Oh, please, it'll get lower than that.
It was either that and I think once it was Barbra Streisand. Her farewell concert for the 50th time.
Yeah.
Open with Xavier Glover. I thought that and then the Glutton Bowl, the two worst things.
Now,
that
see, if
happened
they'd
to
done that,
television.
if they'd combined those two events and had just Barbra Streisand eating, then that would be
now
good
that
TV.
would have been
That's good TV.
What they should have had is Whoopi Goldberg, Barbra Streisand, and Rosie O'Donnell.
Well, if they just cover Whoopi Goldberg with worms, then you've got television. But the first week The Chamber was on, it aired in the Simpsons time slot and got a big audience. And the second week it was on, it aired after the Simpsons and got a big audience. And the third week it was on Friday night and tanked and it was canceled. So that's the value of The Simpsons. It can, by its very presence, bring attention to crap shows that at least get a trial, and that's its value to Fox. So as long as there's nothing else they can put on that will do that for them, we'll at least be around through another couple of years, I think.
Teddy Bear's Picnic. Now, how would you best describe this film?
It's as a style of film, it's an independent digital comedy. As a subject matter description, it's about a group of the richest, most powerful white men in America who every summer for 100 years have had a secret retreat in Redwood Country, and this summer the secrecy is under threat by a local news broadcast in San Francisco.
Now, this is loosely based on a real organization, right?
This is tightly based on a real organization.
Because I like the little disclaimer in the beginning of the film.
Yeah. Well, that was I put that disclaimer in. It says some reference to our lawyers. This was never submitted to lawyers. It was just there for a laugh. But there is in fact such an organization for real called the Bohemian Grove, and I did a substantial amount of research about it before writing and making this picture. And then after writing the script, I actually got invited, coincidentally, to kind of a little preview weekend. They have the real encampment in the middle of the summer.
I like that, the encampment.
As a matter of fact, I'm reliably informed that to this day, on Henry Kissinger's social calendar, there's like a week sort of marked off for a mysterious hospital visit, which in fact covers his actual visit to Bohemian Grove. But I got invited to like a preview weekend and got to kind of fact check to see, oh yeah, I got it right. So it's up to the point where the place is threatened with exposure. Pretty much what I depict comedically is what really goes on.
Well, now I was reading that it started out as a way for journalists up in the Bay Area.
Yeah,
to get together and booze it up on a weekend.
Yeah, it was journalists. Mark Twain, I think, helped found it. It was writers and artists. It was called the Bohemian Club because they were really bohemians. They were writers and artists, and they let businessmen in because they realized that businessmen could pony up the bucks to help keep the club alive, and then the businessmen took over and turned the writers and artists into mascots, which is what they are to this day. I mean, one of the things that's goofy about this place, aside from their taste in leisure activities, which basically involves getting drunk and peeing on redwood trees, is that they love being around show people, although because their membership has never been mistaken for Fairfax Avenue on a Saturday afternoon, they have a limited array of show people from which to choose. But that is a sort of a vestigial tribute to their roots as a club that was founded by writers and artists.
Now, is it true that they tried to expose this group, the Bohemian Society, but some journalist, is that a true story?
Well, it's happened several times. It's not a one-time event. There have been several people who've tried to sneak in or infiltrate the Grove. When I was at Spy magazine, there was a guy at Spy who I think succeeded in infiltrating. Usually people disguise themselves as waiters and get in, and that's why in the picture I made, the vehicle for the exposure of the secret is in fact a waiter who works at the club. It's just that's the soft underbelly of the place is the wait staff.
Now, being that it is satire, I mean, are you really trying to really expose something, and it's easier to do that through comedy, or is it just?
Well, I mean, I'm not trying to expose. I'm trying to what the kind of comedy I like comedy that grows out of the way life really is, some aspect of the way life really is, as opposed to total fantasy. Fantasy doesn't, what if George Bush smoked chronic, man? It does not make me laugh.
Right.
Kind of a carefully observed slice of real life with the pauses taken out is what makes me laugh, because we're the funniest thing going, us, as we really are. It's just there are dull parts, and the job I see basically is to just take the dull parts out, just edit it down, just look at it straight, edit it down. So it's not exposure so much as, I think just turn your gaze at any part of life and focus on it. You're going to find funny stuff there. And so and satirists, I think the job description involves basically turning your gaze more often than not at the people who have the power and the guns and the money. So that's why this group of people I thought was an appropriate subject.
What were some challenges that went into making the film?
Well, first of all, it's one thing to say you want to do a digital film. You then have the digital world offers a bewildering variety of formats and from which to choose. And so I literally spent about 6 months talking to directors who had done the first kind of wave of digital films, picking their brains. And the great thing about the independent film world is that people will really be very glad to share with you what they know. The bad thing about it is a lot of what they know is wrong. So you have to kind of sift. And this was a perfect example, because people would say a couple years ago, things change very rapidly in the digital world, but a couple years ago people were saying, well, you have to shoot PAL, which is the English video standard, which has more lines on the screen, which gives you a richer image when you convert to 35 millimeter, which is true. All of that is true. But as I started exploring it, I found that something else was true too, which is that for totally arcane technical reasons, when you shoot in PAL and then convert to 35 millimeter film, your film is 4% slower and 4% longer than what you shot.
4% slower?
Yeah.
Wow. So does it drop the voice too?
Well, I asked this question of the guy who's the world's leading authority on converting digital video to film, and he says, no, we have very sophisticated pitch correction algorithms for making so it doesn't sound like that. But it's slower. And I said, but it's still slower, doesn't it? And he said, yeah, but 4%, the audience can't tell that. At which point I realized, okay, these people are not doing comedy, because in drama you can get away with that. But
every 4 seconds, you've lost your audience.
Yeah, well, 4%, go say to George Wendt, do the thing 4% faster, because it's going to end up 4% slower and you have to compensate. I mean, it's ludicrous. So we finally, part of the challenge was to find a format that gave us good picture quality and didn't involve that compromise. Part of the challenge was getting actors who really wanted to be in the picture but would get like real jobs that paid real money.
Yeah.
So we ended up casting the movie about 2.5 times before it stuck, because people would go away and then, we'd have to replace them. But I'm really proud of this cast. I think it's a great cast.
Well, Henry Gibson.
Yeah, amazing. Henry Gibson's amazing.
I mean, you have a lot of, people will recognize a lot of these actors.
John Michael Higgins from Best in Show.
Yeah,
and
Howard Hessman.
Howard Hessman was great.
God, he did Quills at the Geffen Theater a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's amazing. Fred Willard.
Fred Willard.
The great Fred
who's
Willard.
always good.
He's funny from a whole other place than anything that I understand. And I've worked with him on stage. I've worked with him in film. As a director, I try to give an actor only what they need, and not try to over note them or over guide them. And Fred just basically needs to be told where to stand and where the camera is and when the take starts. I mean, he's got his own process that's like comes from within. Spinal Tap and all of Chris's movies have been improvised. This film is not improvised. And for a few reasons, I didn't want to have it be improvised. First of all, that's Chris's style, and I didn't want to be in the position of being next in line after Chris with that style. This is a movie about a secret and the attempt to keep it secret, and I couldn't for the life of me think of who would therefore be filming a mockumentary about that.
Right.
So the point of view question eluded me. And then, purely practical standpoint, we didn't have time to let people screw around and improvise. We had to really, and I don't mean to be disrespectful by saying screw around, I mean, it just takes time. And we really had too restricted a schedule both in the shooting and in the editing. Chris takes 7 months to edit his pictures.
Really?
Yeah. It takes a long time to find that stuff and weave it together. And I didn't have that either. So what I did is I said to all these people who, as I say, have fine improvisational chops, you'll think of amazing things to say, tell me about them beforehand, and we'll work them into the script and plan for them. And sort of that's what we did.
You're going to go to New York to do some publicity for the film?
Do Conan and Joan Rivers show. Joan Rivers has a radio show. Who knew?
Oh, she does?
Yeah, who knew?
Now, when you
Without Melissa, hopefully.
Okay.
I just hope, because a 2-on-1 I'm not prepared for. Ugh.
So Harry,
Yeah.
what is that outfit? Can you tell us?
Yeah, what were you thinking?
Can you tell us?
This is a fashion disaster.
She used to play the club scene in L.A. years ago when there was a club scene.
She was in Second City, I just found out.
Wow.
That's frightening. Imagine being on stage with, just the great Joan Rivers. But yeah, so I'm doing some of that.
When are you going to be on Conan?
Thursday night.
Oh, this Thursday?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, cool. We'll look for you.
Okay. I'll look for you.
So they
wave when you see
They
me.
do like a big pre-interview, don't they?
There'll be about 10, 15 minutes on the phone. Yeah. Which I've never understood. But.
So you go in there. So it's really he's just going to rehash the questions he already asked you, or
that's the American way of doing television, and it's pretty much across the board. Now I go to Australia sometimes and do this wonderful show, which is sort of a cross between politically incorrect and something funny, and
yeah, what is this politically incorrect?
Well,
what do you think?
Not enough said, department, and these guys take the totally opposite position, which is there'll be a little meeting about what the show is going to be about and what we all want to discuss, and the minute somebody starts getting into it, they say no, save it for the show. So there's a very rigorous kind of, we don't want to hear about it in advance.
Right.
We want to experience it for the first time, for real, spontaneously. So not American. So an American approach to television. Everybody in American television is nervous, doesn't want to be surprised, doesn't want to have the unexpected happen, wants to know exactly, wants to be
Well, that's why you see these newscasters, and if there's a real event, they don't know what to do. They don't know what to do.
Their personality changes totally. Like Dan just goes into hyper warp personality when there's a real news event, as opposed to the thing that he does, the acting that he does when he's just reading.
Oh my God! That when he's reading the copy, he does something. He does a 30-second or 1 minute commentary.
Mm-hmm. But he does those weird turns of phrase.
What is
a cold day in August becomes hot item.
He doesn't write that
Next.
anymore, does he?
Yeah, I think he does.
You think he writes those?
that stuff. I don't know. Maybe they don't just know how to write for him. A dog's life hangs on a cat's tail. Next.
So what about the Oscars? It seemed like this year there was a really
They're still going on, as I understand it. Whoopi is doing. Whoopi has finally gotten drunk enough to be funny, and I thought there was an interesting quote by somebody at Imagine, who said, which was the producer of A Beautiful Mind, who said, this year we have violated the morality of marketing the Academy, referring to all the negative campaigning against A Beautiful Mind.
I wasn't dialed into this. What was this whole negative campaigning?
The leaking of information to the Drudge Report of pieces from the book about John Nash and his anti-Semitic period, which of course coincided with his periods of psychotic delusion. That's the part that Matt Drudge left out.
Oh, okay.
So there was an attempt to scare the members of the Academy into thinking, why are we voting for this movie about an anti-Semite? My God. So there was, that's a little ugly. And the Imagine spokesman went on to say, we have to rein this in because we really don't want to destroy what Oscar stands for.
What does it stand for?
Well, to me, the seminal moment in last night's show was when Whoopi, in one of her misguided comedy moments, commenting on John Ashcroft covering up the boobs on the statues at the Justice Department, walked over to the statue of Oscar and covered up nothing, because Oscar has no genitalia.
Yeah.
So, why would you, she didn't get the fact that the joke didn't work because she was covering up something that wasn't there. It had already been airbrushed long before she got there by the Academy itself. So what Oscar stands for, first and foremost, is lack of genitalia.
Well, remember it used to be. I remember the years of the guy was streaking, and then
Yes.
Somebody inevitably would do something political.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's gotten safer. I think people are aware that there's an opprobrium that attaches to kind of violating the sense of dignity of the motion picture industry, which of course is a huge joke.
What did you think of Halle Berry?
I liked her dress. I thought that, great looking. I would like to have the Halle Berry Kleenex concession.
Yeah, but you know what? In some ways, she wasn't. That's what she did in the film.
Yeah.
What she did with her speech.
Yeah, I know.
It was that over the top.
Yeah. Well, it'll go in the Oscar annals right next in the Sally Field
It is
file.
exactly.
You know?
Exactly. She
You like me.
We saw Sally Fields do it.
Me. So now Sally Fields won't be alone when they show that clip.
Did you have a favorite film?
Iris.
Iris was good, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was amazing that Jim Broadbent won.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Because
it was amazing.
he was not really such the popular vote.
Yeah. No, I thought that was and very much the kind of movie that doesn't win Academy Awards. I was getting tiresome for my guests, including my wife, in the living room last night, going on about the kind of acting that wins Academy Awards is acting that involves a lot of yelling. Jim Broadbent was by contrast never raised his voice,
right?
Never had a histrionic scene. Just was a guy trying to deal with this horrible thing of his wife disappearing before his eyes. It was real acting. Oscar awards for acting have a tradition of kind of going up to a great extent to acting that calls attention to itself, acting with a capital A, and Jim Broadbent was acting with a small a. I thought that was great.
So what's the status of the band now?
I'm planning to have them fly into a mountain, but that's just me. No, we did the Greek Theater. We did Carnegie Hall last year. Christopher and Michael and I are focusing on a different musical organization that we're performing as now, a folk trio called the Folksmen, We've been doing them for about 10 years, and as a matter of fact, we opened for Tap last year as the Folksmen. So I think...
How did that go over? Because you've got the heavy metal crowd.
Yeah.
And then...
Well, it was interesting because about half the people didn't know and half the people knew, and so you could sort of watch the information filter through the audience. Hey, that's not. Hey, that's not. Hey, it is. No, it's not. And you could watch it actually spread. So Christopher's next film is going to feature the Folksmen and several other folk groups portrayed by his regular cast that have been in Best in Show and Guffman, doing a reunion concert at Carnegie Hall to celebrate the life of the guy who managed them all. And we're writing the songs right now.
That must have been a tough gig for the manager because of the egos.
Because the egos and because of the lack of basically attractiveness of the groups. We have been doing these guys, as I say, for more than 10 years, on and off. But
And you guys really played the instrument.
Yes. People ask us that all the time, and for the life of me, this is going to sound extremely old-fashioned. I can't imagine what's fun about going on a tour, for example, and not playing. Although, of course, everybody does.
Look at Milli Vanilli.
Look at Milli. Well, look at Britney Spears. But to me, the whole fun of when we did the tours was, it is. Nobody ever said it wasn't fun to get on stage and play dumb music stupidly loud. It's great fun. The main fun for us is watching the audience. The audience puts on a great show because we're making fun of being a band and being a band at the same time. They're making fun of being a rock audience and being a rock audience at the same time. It's very, very cool.
Now, how did you find Derek Smalls?
How did I find him?
Yeah.
He was playing with a kind of a soul band called Leslie Cheswick's Soul Explosion, and Tap had lost their bass player. Ronnie Pudding left the band, had a solo career, moved to Namibia, and did one solo album called Doesn't Anybody Here Speak English, and was never heard from again. And Derek joined the band at that point, and has stuck with it ever since.
Now he has does he still have the the big sideburn?
Same facial hair, yeah.
He still has that?
Yeah.
Just
he likes that.
He never let go of that.
The chicks love it.
Do they?
Oh God, yeah. It's that stuff is a chick magnet.
If you would like more information about Harry Shearer, visit harryshearer.com. Until next time, this is Mark Gordon, and I'll see you center stage.
Center stage, center stage, center, center, center stage. Center stage.
Hello, this is Homer Simpson. Whenever I want to know what's going on in the entertainment world, I listen to Center Stage with Mark Gordon.